Did you see like the highlights of Thor, Bjornsson, and Eddie Hall?
I didn't know what happened.
I saw a recap, but it only had still photos to like do highlights, so not very well.
Yeah, it was like Eddie Hall so obviously can't use that arm that he had that bicep tear in.
Oh.
And so like the entire time, one arm just sits here and he is throwing the most powerful right hooks I've ever seen from any, like put a meter of how powerful it is. I'd put him above anyone in the UFC just by mass. He has a tattoo on his back of a Spartan, like arms outstretched and like a big kind of panoramic view. It's too small. It's not big enough for the size of this man's back. But you see like immediately that Thor is going to win because Thor lost 100 pounds to get in boxing shape, and he's still shredded and enormous. And it was just Thor kind of bullying him, and every so often like Eddie Hall throwing the most telegraphed punch on earth. But like if you get in the way, it's going to fuck you up. And like it was very clearly like, what were you thinking, Eddie? Like, you knew before you went in that you couldn't clearly throw a punch with your left hand. Do you think Thor didn't pick up on that after the first 3 seconds? And he wouldn't put his hands up hardly. He was just kind of eating punches like a strong man would. Eddie Hall.
Okay.
Yeah. Thor, Bjornsson, the Mountain, he looked like a real boxer. He looked like he put in the time and he like learned correctly. But
someone else who reviewed the fight said that Eddie Hall looked okay at the beginning, but gassed out very quickly. Do you agree?
From the highlight I watched where it would say like the round. Yeah. It looked like he gassed out way before. Like if you would have taken a picture of Thor there, you're like, okay, that's not a strong man. He's got visible abs. And Eddie still had like that strong man body.
Yeah.
Like, in a big way.
I think it was Greg Doucette who called it, by the way. You saw it coming. He was like, Eddie Hall has I'm making the number up, but I'm about right. 30-pound weight advantage, or as I call it, a weight disadvantage. He is going to get out cardioed. He is too big, and this happens in the UFC sometimes too. When a guy's really muscled, he can be a V8 engine. He'll get beat by a Prius like Nate Diaz or something, who just has cardio all fight long.
Yeah, I like those fights. I like to see that. There's all kinds of it's a stylistic type thing as well. Almost it sort of mirrors the. You've often got strikers and grapplers going against one another, and it's interesting when you've got guys who are real long, real tall guys against
Max Holloway,
against maybe a guy who's shorter but much more powerful. They both weigh 155 pounds, but one's 6'4" and the other's 5'9". Like those are completely different builds, different skill sets and power, like scales.
It's really neat. If you even though I've watched a lot of fighting and when I picture in my mind's eye what a scary dude looks like, he's got tattoos and great big muscles. He doesn't look like Max Holloway. He doesn't look like, even Joe Lozon. Like I picture a guy who looks more like a Tyrone Woodley or a Kamaru Usman. But it turns out that the baddest guys on the planet have all sorts of different body types.
Yeah.
I don't know much about boxing, and by much I mean anything, but Logan Paul, I wouldn't take him over either of these guys. I don't know if Eddie Hall can be hit hard enough to be knocked out because he is taking some hits from a 7'2" Norseman. And Eddie's just like, oh, I got a little blood on my ear, and it's like
he's also
it's coming out of your ear.
Chin, right? Like if he had been taking those hits for the last 12 years, he might have less of a chin.
That makes sense.